It's Friday, everyone. What do we do on Fridays here at the Hint Hive? That's right, we smash the patriarchy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Hint Hive, Amplifying Women's Voices. I'm your host, Kelly Hint, Queen Bee of this hive, and I am thrilled to be here with you today. This podcast is all about celebrating, empowering, and amplifying the voices of women around the world. And today, we are going to talk about a topic that affects so many of us, including me, perfectionism. Ugh, perfectionism. That nagging, insidious force that tells us that we need to be flawless, that mistakes are unacceptable, and that our worth is tied to our achievements. It is time to break free from these shackles and embrace our true, authentic selves. Are you ready? All right, let's dive into this. And I'm just honestly going to share a quick example of a raw moment of perfectionism that I am literally having right now. So as I started to record this, I went into a hot flash of epic proportions. I'm literally sitting here right now covered in sweat and just feeling like death. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should just not do the episode right now because what if they could hear it in my voice? Or what if I get nauseous? And what if? All of this stems from my perfectionism. And I will talk a little bit more about that because my perfectionism, see, and I'm not going to edit that out because what I like to do as a therapist is practice pushing myself out of my comfort zone and pushing myself away from my anxiety and OCD. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to have to sit in the discomfort of knowing that I didn't say the word perfectionism correctly. It's obnoxious. I know. For some of you who don't deal with this, you're like, what is wrong with this person? But for those of you who struggle with perfectionism, you're going to be like, yep, she should have edited it out, or, something along those lines. Or maybe you have compassion for me because you know how awful perfectionism is. So let's first talk about understanding perfectionism. It's not about just wanting to do a good job. It is about setting impossible standards and being overly critical when we inevitably fall short. It is that voice in your head that says you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, or you're not worthy. And let me tell you, it's exhausting. And I know I'm preaching to the choir on this one. If you are listening right now and you have perfectionism, you're like, yep, I get it. So many of us have been conditioned to believe that we need to be perfect in order to be valued. This is especially true for women who face immense pressure to excel in every area of life, whether it's career, family, relationships, or personal appearance. But here's the truth. Perfection is a myth. It is an illusion, and it's damn time that we stop chasing it. And for those of you who struggle with this, you know that perfectionism can have a profound impact on our mental and emotional well-being. It can lead to anxiety, depression, and quite honestly, a constant state of dissatisfaction. It can make us feel like we're always falling short no matter how much we achieve. Think about it. How often have you hesitated to start a new project because you were afraid it wouldn't be perfect? How many opportunities have you missed because you were too focused on your flaws? Perfectionism holds us back. End of discussion. It holds us back. Well, clearly not end of discussion because we got a lot more to cover. Anyway, it stifles our creativity and it prevents us from taking risks and embracing new challenges. I'm telling you, I have faced this in every single aspect of my life. I would have these amazing, amazing ideas, but because I didn't know the outcome from beginning to end, and I didn't have the confidence in myself that it would be absolutely flawless, I didn't do it. And I'm so, so upset with that version of myself. And that's why I am trying personally very, very hard to get rid of this bull. I'm done with it. I'm purposefully pushing myself because, again, as a therapist, I know that we can't just live in this bubble. Like, for example, if you have anxiety, and I talked about this in a past episode, don't just settle in and be like, oh, I have anxiety. This is my life now. I can't do anything about it. Bullcrap. You absolutely can. Get up and fight that nonsense that's in your brain. We do not need to be held back from this any longer. And so again, as a therapist, I ask the people that I work with to step out of their comfort zones and do things that terrify them all the time. Granted, I'm right by their side as I'm asking them to do it, but still, I know how uncomfortable it is because it's something that I deal with myself, which is why I constantly push myself out of my own comfort zone because I know I'm asking people to do this all the time. I know what it feels like. I know it's uncomfortable, but let me tell you, I think part of the reason why I'm so freaking empowered is because I keep doing stuff, even though I know that it's not perfect, even though it terrifies me. I get to the other side of it and I'm like, hell yeah, girl, I am a badass. And that's why I keep trying to spread this message of empowerment because it feels so good. I'm telling you, the women that I work with in my coaching practice, amazing. They have come so far in their lives. They have taken their anxiety, their depression, their trauma, their family issues, and they have kicked them in the ass, and they have come out on the other side, and they are amazing. They're rock stars. They are superheroes. And that's what I want for every woman listening to this. I want you to feel that sense of, holy crap, I'm amazing, even though you're not perfect. Because you don't need to be perfect to be amazing. You don't need life to be perfect in order to be happy. And that's why I challenge everyone to really take this seriously if you're somebody who struggles with perfectionism and do some work to try and get out of it, to try and get to that other side of it. And if you need help, that's when you reach out to me. And we'll do some work together. If you're finding that you can't do this, if you're finding that you don't know the way through the perfectionism, give me a call. Let's work on that together. You know, part of dealing with perfectionism is to challenge that thought process. I mean, so think about it. How do we combat this? How do we combat perfectionism? It really starts with challenging our own thinking. When that inner critic pipes up, we need to recognize it and shut it down because it has absolutely no place in our brain. Ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it kind? Is it true? More often than not, if you're being honest, the answer will be no. You've got to start replacing those negative thoughts with positive affirmations. Instead of saying something like, I'm not good enough, say, I am capable and worthy. Instead of saying, I have to be perfect, say, I'm human and it's okay to make mistakes. It sounds simple, but I'm telling you, when you start living by this simplicity, it is incredibly powerful. If you're having a hard time, like recognizing some of those negative thoughts, that perfectionistic thinking, or if you're having a hard time challenging the thoughts, or you don't know how to identify or challenge them, This is where the assistance of a good therapist or coach can be really, really helpful, because a good therapist or a good coach will be able to help you identify and challenge these thoughts without making you feel like crap about yourself. A good therapist or coach will inspire you, will educate you, will help to transform you into the person that you need to be. I say that all the time. When people ask me what I do, I just tell them. It's almost like this party line speech that I have. I transform women with anxiety into badass warriors who go after what they want in life, whether it's career, relationships, self-worth, no matter what it is. I am going to transform you. And so if you're having a hard time doing this on your own, you've got to reach out for help, because I'm telling you, as somebody who has been on all sides of this issue, from the personal to the professional, it is worth it. The work is worth it. Getting to the other side of this BS is so incredibly worth it. It's like this burden is lifted off your shoulders and you're like, oh my gosh, I can actually enjoy life a little bit. And I'll tell you some of my stories coming up here in a couple segments. But the first part of this, like after we challenge some of those perfectionistic thoughts that we have, here's the hard part. We need to learn to embrace our imperfections. Yeah, I know. It's an icky thought, isn't it? Like, oh my gosh, embrace my imperfections? No, I want to change my imperfections. Guess what? Our flaws make us unique. They make us human. They make us relatable. When we show our vulnerabilities, we give others permission to do the same. That's part of what this podcast is all about. That's the reason why I wanted to do this. That's why I share part of myself in this podcast, because I become vulnerable to all of you listening. And I know for a fact, because I have received feedback, that there are listeners that are like, oh my gosh, I thought that was just me. Or, wow, this chick is pretty bold. She's actually going on this platform and talking about some stuff that I wouldn't want to talk about. Well, guess what? I don't always want to talk about the stuff that I do, but I do it because I know for a fact that it is helping other women. If you can feel better or have a life-changing moment because of some sort of pain that I have been through, guess what? It makes it worth it. It makes every bit of my trauma worth the impact of it. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't wish my trauma on anyone, and I wouldn't wish your trauma on others. However, if I can turn crap into gold, then that to me is so worth it. And for me, gold equals helping women. Gold equals empowering women. So if the fact that I'm not perfect, the fact that I screw up, the fact that I've done dumb things, if that helps another woman, if that makes me relatable to you, then I'm going to do it. I will make myself vulnerable. I've said in the past, I call it opening a vein. I find you, the listener, right now, whoever you are that is listening, I find you worth it. You are worth opening my vein, exposing my pain. You are worth it, because if I can help you, that's all I need. Because you deserve the happiness that I have found. You deserve to overcome all of this garbage that has been penetrating your brain for however many years you've been on this earth. You deserve freedom from that. Now, just take a second And think about the women that you admire. Are they perfect? Or do they own their imperfections and use them as a source of strength? Because true power comes from authenticity, from being unapologetically yourself, flaws and all. And now I'm going to say something that's I know will ruffle a few feathers because I don't like saying it at all. But I'm going to because it's kind of a fact. Think for a moment about our former president, Donald Trump. Okay. No matter what feelings come up for you, some of you may be like, oh, yay, he's awesome. And others are like, I want him to suffer. I won't say anything else because he's a former president and I am not going to get myself into trouble. But anyway, think about him. He is a powerful man. Yeah, I just about vomit saying that because I do not admire him at all. I will be very honest. It has nothing to do with politics. Who he is as a human being makes me sick. However, I'm rational enough to know that he is incredibly powerful. Why? Why is that? Why is a human being who has admitted to doing horrible things to women so powerful? Because he's authentic. He is unapologetically himself, flaws and all. Ladies, if that pile of trash can become president and be one of the most powerful men in the world, what is holding you back? What on earth would hold you back from being yourself? Because if someone like that can be so powerful and well loved by his following, then you can too. And now I will say, not all power is good, right? Not all people in power are good. We have seen that throughout history. As a matter of fact, powerful people are scary sometimes. But imagine being a good person and feeling powerful because you are authentic. I'm telling you, the more work I do on myself, which I'm going to work on myself till the day I die, because I believe that we need to learn and evolve and change and grow. That's part of being human. I don't ever want to be stale and stagnant. That makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about it. But when I think about the journey I've been on and the work that I continue to do, I feel more and more powerful every single day, not in a sense of, oh, I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to be the most powerful woman in the world. I don't have an ego like that, so that's not what I'm striving for. I feel powerful in myself. I feel powerful because I am breaking free from the chains that society has put on me, that family has put on me, that friends have put on me, that men have put on me. I'm breaking free from all of that because guess what? I do not give one rat's ass about what generally people think about me. If I'm being my true self and you don't like me, don't be around me. Go somewhere else. Go search for your perfect person because they don't exist. So go have a miserable time yourself. Whatever. Leave me alone. I'm going to be me because I know that my heart is good. I know that I want to love and help people. I want to help women find the power within themselves. And I know that comes from a good place. And even though I'm not perfect, I'm good with it. I'm finally getting to the place where I know my worth, and I want you to find yours also. So, what are some actual strategies to overcome perfectionism? Yeah, we have to identify the nonsense in our head and we have to challenge it, but what else? Well, some strategies would be, first, set realistic goals. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for progress. Celebrate your achievements, no matter how small they seem. As somebody with a chronic health condition, sometimes I celebrate getting out of bed. If any of you have watched my TikTok, the last couple videos that I've done have been in my pajamas. And guess what? I don't care. Because again, progress, not perfection. I was trying to do a little bit better a job of posting on social media, which PS I freaking hate. I hate it so much. I don't want to post videos. I don't want to post content. I don't want to do any of that. But that is the only way I can reach people, is to do stuff like that. So I am trying to increase that. Now, if I'm going for perfection, I am failing. I am failing as a therapist. I'm failing as a coach. I'm failing in my social media presence. I'm failing as a wife, a mother, a friend, a daughter. I am failing if my goal is perfection. Guess what? I don't like failing. So I've readjusted my expectations. So now I celebrate my achievements, no matter how small. And part of that, like when I think I had, when I reached like 500 downloads of my podcast, I put it out there because I'm celebrating that. I think it's amazing that people have listened to me 500 times. That is amazing. Guess what? I want to reach way more than that. And so my perfectionism is in the back of my head going, you're nothing, sister. You're small potatoes. You don't have a big enough audience. You're not making a big enough impact. But guess what? I tell that bitch to F off. She needs to go sit back in the corner, because I'm going to celebrate the fact that there were 500 people who heard my message. Or sorry, not 500 people. 500 downloads means there 500 times people listened to me. So I consider that really, really good when I adjust my expectations properly. In this next part is to practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. Treat yourself the way you would treat a dear friend, a loved one. Because remember, you are worthy of love and respect just as you are. You do not need to be perfect in order to receive love, in order to receive respect. That's why when I get that horrible witch in the back of my head that tells me that I'm not reaching enough people, I tell her to go away, because I'm being kind to myself, because I'm happy that I'm reaching someone. Because right now, in this moment, my heart tells me that if there is one person listening to this, that this whole message helps, my goal is complete. I just want to change one person's life. And if I have, amazing. And okay, that's a little bit dramatic. A podcast isn't going to change someone's life. But like basically what I mean is, if I can impact somebody positively, then that's awesome. And so I will celebrate that. And then the next piece of this is embracing failure as a learning opportunity. Every mistake is a chance to grow and improve. Do not let fear of failure hold you back, because the only thing failure is a lesson. It's a lesson on how to do things differently. Don't let that scare you. You know, there are some incredible women in this world who have overcome perfectionism and embraced their true selves. These women have faced their fears, silenced their inner critics, and achieved amazing things. That's what we should be striving for. We should be striving to be those women, the ones who were too scared to do a thing and they did it anyway, and look where they're at. And this is where I'll share some of my really, really idiotic perfectionism things. So I have talked before about the fact that I have anxiety. And then later on in life, I realized also that I struggle with OCD. And my anxiety and OCD manifest in perfectionism. When I went to grad school, this was such a nightmare. So in my undergrad, I have an associate's, a bachelor's, and a master's degree. And in my associates and bachelor's, I had a 4.0. So for those who don't know what that is, that means I got straight A's in those two degrees. And so when I went to grad school, I had the same expectation. And I just about killed myself trying to get straight A's in my master's program. I had professors telling me to cut the crap. They challenged every single irrational thought I had. They asked me, why? Why does it matter? Why doesn't A matter? And for me, it was, well, I have to have straight A's because then I get the internship I want, and then I get the job I want, and then life is great. And they kept challenging me. They're like, nobody cares. No one cares about your 4.0. Not one person cares about your 4.0. And guess what? Guess who was right and guess who was wrong? Every therapist and professor that challenged my perfectionism was right. And I was wrong. Because guess what? I got a 4.0 in my master's program. I graduated with straight A's throughout my collegiate experience, and guess what? It didn't effing matter. Not one person cared. Not one employer cared about the fact that I had straight A's. I thought that that would impress them. But guess what? It did not. They did not care. They didn't care that I had straight A's. As a matter of fact, one of them called me out in a job interview and said, "Oh, straight A's. Well, you're a perfectionist. I get that. But are you going to be a good therapist?" And I'm like, I got straight A's. Doesn't that mean? No, of course it doesn't mean I'm going to be a good therapist. You can have all the book smarts in the world, and that doesn't make you a good therapist, a good coach, a good anything. Nobody cares. No, not one person. All those years of sacrifice, all of those years that I wasted freaking out about getting straight A's in college, literally not one employer cared. That's not what got me the job. Every time I got the job, it was because of who I am, not what I've done, not my perfectionistic accomplishments. So remember that the next time you're freaking out trying to be perfect to impress someone else so that you can get what you want, that's not what's going to get you what you want. Who you are is more important than some ridiculous standard that you set for yourself. In another ridiculous piece of this, so I didn't realize I struggled with perfectionism until I was older. So I was probably in my early 20s, and I had fallen down the stairs. And it was kind of a funny thing because for some reason, up until like my body started failing me, I ran up and down the stairs all the time. For some reason, I couldn't walk. I always had to run up and down the stairs. And so one day I was flying down the stairs and I took a hell of a fall. And I was telling my friends about it. And one of them said, "Oh, Miss Perfect takes a fall." And I was like, "What?" And at the time, I didn't understand it. And now, several decades later, I'm looking back on that and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been dealing with this for a long time. So So I had told you that my OCD manifests as perfectionism a lot. So I like things a certain way. Things I can't remember if I've talked about how I fold the towels or not. So my dishwasher has to be loaded a certain way. The towels have to be folded a certain way. And this was causing a lot of problems at home. And so I recognized, oh, this is my OCD. If like I can't yell at my husband and kids because they don't do something right, because it's not a matter of right or wrong. That was my OCD, my perfectionism coming into play. And so I had to let go of some of that. So I don't yell at my husband about the way he loads the dishwasher. Um, I will admit that sometimes I go behind him and I do rearrange it a little bit. But to be fair, it is because if the dishes aren't in there a certain way, sometimes water pools up on the cups and stuff. And then he gets mad that there's water on the dishes and he starts complaining about the dishwasher and I just don't want to hear it. So like, that's why I do that. It's not my perfectionism any longer. But little things like that, my perfectionism caused problems in my relationships. I can tell you, when I was a child, this is so embarrassing now that I look back on it. When I was a little kid, I had OCD and I didn't know it. I would get mad when people touched my stuff. I don't like people touching my things because they move it and they shouldn't be doing that. I don't want them touching my things and moving them out of their perfect spot. And so that's another way that my OCD manifested as perfectionism. And of course, I look back now and I'm so embarrassed. So if there's anyone from my childhood listening to this, I'm sorry that I didn't want you touching my things. It wasn't because I was a selfish bitch. It was because I was struggling with OCD and perfectionism and I had no idea. So sorry about that. Now, to be honest, I was planning on sharing a lot more about this, like more personal stuff, but I've realized that we're way over a half hour, and so I'm trying to stay consistent with kind of the amount of time for these podcasts. So apologies, this one has gone over a little bit, so I'm going to cut the storytelling short. So instead of telling more stories, I'm just going to say this. Ladies, it is time to let go of perfectionism and embrace your true selves. You are enough just as you are. You are worthy of love, respect, and success. Do not let perfectionism hold you back any longer. Your call to action this week is to identify one area in your life where perfectionism is holding you back. Take one small step towards progress, not perfection. And remember, you are not alone in this journey. We are all in this together. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Hint Hive Amplifying Women's Voices. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. And I want to thank those of you who are doing this. I see the reviews, I see the numbers increasing, and it's because of you. And I want to sincerely thank you from the bottom, top, middle, all of my heart. Together, we're in this together and we can change the world, ladies. Together, we can change the world. And also, together, we can break free from perfectionism and embrace our true power. So until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and keep being unapologetically an unperfected you. This podcast is powered by Kelly Hint Empowerment Coaching, as well as Kelly M. Hint LMHC and The Cranky Counselor. To find out more about coaching services, head over to CoachKellyHint.com. If you'd like to know more about the psychotherapy services I offer to individuals within the state of New York, you can check out KellyMHint.com. And if you'd like to learn more about aromatherapy, you can check out TheCrankyCounselor.com.